I'm John Batchelor. This is the John Batchelor Show. Star Tram, the Star Tram project. There's a website up right now, startram.com. This is an alternate mode of transportation into low Earth orbit, high Earth orbit, and the planets. It is not about rockets. It's a system that exists on Earth in one place, Japan right now, but its application is about space launch, vehicle launch. Charles Pellegrino is the author of a forthcoming book about Star Tram. I'm looking at the website that points to the technology. This presentation is within weeks. Charlie, a very good evening to you. Charles is also the author of books about Titanic, books about the incidents in the past that have been catastrophic, such as Vesuvius. But right now we're looking at the future of space travel, if this is as dynamic as I think it is. Charlie, good evening to you.
Good evening.
The Star Tram project. I'm looking at an alternate launch vehicle system for leaving Earth and going into low Earth orbit to defeat the gravity that we depend upon and put payloads into space. How does it work, Charlie? What can you tell me that I'm looking at on the Star Tram project page?
Well, in main principle, it's somewhat like Arthur Clarke's space elevator, except it's not an elevator. It's using a magnetic launch system through a hollow tube with all the air cleared out of it, and it can launch objects into space pretty much like Jim Powell, who invented the maglev that's running in Japan now, using a system similar to that, and it can get the cost of launching equipment, robotic material, even just simple building materials and the water that's needed out there at about $50 a pound. And the rockets that Branson and his team are working with to get people into space has brought the cost of getting people into space down to about $3,000 a pound. Let's hope they go on diets. The space shuttle was almost $10,000 a pound. And these new rockets, they're solid-fueled rockets that can be throttled up and down. Very good for getting people up there. Our system, the Star Tram launch system can't get people up there. People could never take those sorts of accelerations. So it's good for sending up the equipment that people would be working with once they're out there. Also for sending robots out to mine the asteroids and especially the Earth crossers. At $50 a pound, to Earth orbit, we're talking about the cost of getting things out to asteroids being almost comparable to freighting cargo around the world today on.
So you're looking for cargo launch, and the maglev system exists here on Earth already. It's used in Japan. It can have a vehicle, a train, travel at 361 miles per hour in our atmosphere. So how would the maglev launch system work for into low Earth orbit? Why would it be able to escape the gravity?
Well, it actually launches at an angle up into the atmosphere. There are several ways of doing it, one of them being a permanently mounted system on the side of several mountains around the world that are actually good for this. And it very rapidly accelerates a cargo pod up, and the nose of this, basically it's almost like the Jules Verne space cannon, only much longer, and Verne was actually kind of right over 150 years ago almost. And the nose of the cannon just opens up at the last second. It's got jets that keep air from going back in, and it launches things up towards space at basically hypersonic speed.
Because the tube is a vacuum tube, so there's no resistance inside, and once the maglev takes off, it puts it faster and faster. What suspends the tube? The pictures I'm looking at on the StarTram.com site don't say what they're hanging the tube on. What is suspending it?
There are actually magnetic repulsive coils that are one way of raising this cannon just before you fire, or it can be, and probably would be much more cheaply, permanently suspended up the side of one of several mountains around the world. And once we can get things into space down to about $50 a pound, this really opens up the industrialization of space in a big way. And robotic mining, all these sorts of things. If we look at some of the Earth crossers like the asteroid Eros, which is only about 20 times about twice the length of New York City, and yet it's got more gold alone in it than has ever been mined out of the Earth, and that's just one of the asteroids. And gold isn't one of the main things we're looking at either. And although gold is now no longer just something that's for its value or for jewelry, but it's a strategic metal used in every cell phone, every laptop, every computer around the world.
Charlie, is there any aspect of this technology for Star Tram that it does not exist right now? For example, I know with the space elevator, everything's in place except for what are you going to make the ribbon of? Perhaps nanotubes, but they have to come up with something that'll hold together.
Right. Arthur Clarke was way ahead of the game when
but the ribbons don't exist. What doesn't exist right now for launching the Star Tram?
Star Tram, everything exists.
That's what I thought.
It's just a matter of building models, testing it, and actually building the thing. So we're talking about something that could be operating within a decade.
And the system in place, this cannon, it looks like you're sort of raising a telescope. That's what the tube looks like. Because these are illustrations on the StarTram.com site, how long is that tube? Is it tens of miles?
It would be, depending on what angle we're aiming at, it could be up to about 20 miles long.
Okay, so a 20-mile long tube that you're going to raise at launch, and you're going to raise it on the side of a mountain, or these are
well, actually,
guidelines?
For a mountain launcher, which is probably what would actually be done, it would be permanently mounted inside or along the side of the mountain.
And how do you accelerate? What is the force of the maglevs themselves? That energy source is electricity that lights them up?
Right. So it's the same sort of system that's actually used for launching some of the world's newer roller coasters.
Right.
Same sort of system that's being put into the Tokyo to Osaka line, which is a system that runs over 350 miles an hour in air. There's also been much talk about, and it's actually much cheaper than some of these other high rail systems that are being talked about.
But it's not for manned launch. This is just for cargo.
Right. But
no
we can actually use a similar system for connecting Los Angeles and New York, or actually evacuated tubes for making Los Angeles an hour and a half away.
All right. The book is coming. Star Tram. How soon, Charlie?
The book should be available in about 2 weeks.
Star Tram, S-T-A-R, Tram, you understand, like a tram, like a subway. The new race to space. James Powell, George Mays, and Charlie Pellegrino are the authors. There's a website right now. You can preview it for yourself and consider, is this science or is this fiction? I'm John Batchelor. This is The John Batchelor Show.